Welcome to the White Sox Recap Podcast. I am Ryan McGuffey. Last week we touched on, man, it's really fun to be a White Sox fan right now, and it sure is. Even after a road trip that might have been, quote, disappointing, the Sox have come back against AL Central foes and put it right back together. They've been able to sustain losing streaks, bad trips, and keep putting one foot in front of another, and it's post-Memorial Day. The White Sox are over 500. They have a pad in the wild card standings, and they're chasing the Cleveland Guardians. And all of it, people are saying, I don't know, is it sustainable? I'm here to tell you, I'm putting it on the record on this edition of the podcast, that yes, this success is sustainable all year. Even with a tough June ahead, the White Sox find themselves in a very important 10-game stretch as we record this against the Twins, the Tigers, and then again with the Twins. Brian Anderson's going to join me. We have conversations with Sean Burke and Burke and Hudson. Really good in-depth stuff about the White Sox clubhouse, why they don't know any better, and why they're right where they want to be with 100-plus games ahead. A lot to pack in this edition of the White Sox Recap Podcast. Sustainable success, folks. It's here, and it starts right now. There's my guy, Brian Anderson.
Back. In the flesh, but not really.
Oh, yeah, not in the flesh. It's good to have you in the remote sometimes. The guy's putting in the work, folks. He's halfway across the country, and he's here to tell you that the White Sox success is sustainable, right, BA? Because last week we talked on the podcast, it's really fun to be a Sox fan. It's going to be fun all year. Like, there's no doubt it's going to be fun the rest of the year. The question that people have, and as we get, it was one thing to be 20 games in. Then it was 30 games, 40 games. Now we're hitting the 60-game mark. This is sustainable, my friend. I have a laundry list of reasons to tell you, and we're going to hear from Sean Burke and Burke Hudson. But I really do think that the White Sox success is sustainable throughout the 2026 season.
Hey, man, I'm going to drive this home because it's the only thing I get to run with my White Sox preseason predictions. But you and Jonathan Hood, man, the train did leave the station in late March, early April.
Yep.
I was predicting an 80-win season. We are sure glad to have you. It is a McGuffey Hood party of two. Your table's ready. We're sure glad to have you. But man, it's just so much fun to watch. I mean, this isn't a matter of like wins and losses right now for me. It's Murakami's, hitting homers. He's setting records. Mydros got 5 homers, man. He only had 5 homers all last year. Remember, I was kind of going like, dude, you have 500 plate appearances. You can run into 8 baseballs, right? I mean, shit, I did one time. but everyone's firing on all cylinders. The pitching's good. They have 4 or 5 guys in the lineup that are smacking around. Miguel Vargas, man, if there was a baseball 6th man of the year, he's it. So I'll tell you what, Guff, I know you're pumped. I'm pumped as a former player. So let's ride, man.
Yeah, and I'm here to tell you that, like, you talked about 6th man of the year. Let me read you some things about Miguel Vargas right now. Miguel Vargas in the American League. This is just amongst third basemen because I think we have an all-star in our hands. He's second only to Junior Caminero in home runs. He's got 12. He leads all American League third basemen in RBI. He's second in American League third baseman in walks. He is 5th in hits. He is 1st in runs scored. He is 1st in OPS. He is 1st in on-base percentage. He is 2nd in slugging. Dude, that's an all-star.
Yeah, and hey, remember you can't hold us accountable for like who's going to be the White Sox all-star. They could have 4 or 5, man.
Yeah, just for record, if you're going to have your success, you're going to sit there and say, "Welcome to table of 2." Our party is ready. Also, for both of you who had Murakami hitting like 18 home runs, I had
23.
I had 33. He's got to blow past 33, and I had him as an all-star. So your table is now served as well.
Yeah. Hey, did you see our boy Scott Merkin's post? I mean, it's cool to be on a post, but it also sucks. Like when you look back at your playing career and you're like, this dude's about to surpass my career home run mark, and he's going to do it by like June 15th. I mean, hey. I'm glad to see him. I'm very grateful he's going to be passing me, but it was just cool to be on a list. I'm like 150th all time in White Sox homers. I'm like, damn, I thought I was like somewhere in the 500 plus.
Well, This, you talk about Murakami and Vargas, and what happens is like when you have a lineup that's clicking on all cylinders, Antonacci, right? Chase Mydroth. It allows a guy like Colson Montgomery, who had a big night. We're recording this after the White Sox 15-2 smacking of the Twins, which was so much fun to watch. But it allows a guy like Colson to have a couple of weeks stretch where maybe things aren't clicking that well. And you don't even know it, BA, because everyone else is doing it. And then when all of a sudden Colson has, he hits one off the wall last night that looked to be gone off the bat, and he has a couple of hits, a couple of knocks, a couple of RBIs, and a guy finds himself again and gets back in rhythm without putting too much pressure on, oh, you have to be this guy. Munetaka Murakami, we're going to talk about him all year, but this guy, this one signing and popping him in the middle of your lineup to give Shelton from the Twins, the manager said, this guy's a superstar. He's going to be a superstar. The White Sox haven't had a superstar in a long time, really since you played, to be honest with you. And
yeah, we had a couple, but I mean,
you had a couple, but like
they
to
were
actually
aged. They were aged. I mean, nothing against those guys, but I mean, really, Jim Thome was incredible. What we caught him in his mid-30s, right? Konerko, I mean, was great at 30, right. 29, 30, 31. Jermaine Dye, 32, 33. So I think
Murakami just did something on Wednesday night that only Frank Thomas and Jim Thome had done before June, and that's hit 20 home runs. Think about that list. Frank Thomas and Jim Thome. Hall of Famer, that's 1,100 homers. And now Munetaka Murakami, also the only rookie to ever have 20 home runs before the month of June, which is crazy.
I struggle with that, though, Guff. I always will. Like any of those really great Japanese, Korean-born players that come here, like they're a rookie. Like those dudes are dialed in. Like,
well, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to push back on it, though. Like, then why has no one ever done it?
No, not the stats. I'm saying I have a tough time calling him Murakami and the Ichiro and Ohtani rookies because they're so good. Like,
that's fair.
In my opinion, I'm like they're like a vet. They're probably looking at like Murakami's going to win Rookie of the Year, and he's going to be like, I'm 27,
26. Come on.
Okay.
All right. So a guy like I'm just saying the reason I think people like McGuffey, Anderson, like, why do you think it's sustainable? Their lineup to me has 3 30 home run guys in it, 25 to 30 home run guys. Murakami's going to have 40. But I think Colson's a 30 guy. I think Vargas is a 25 type. To have that type of power in 3, 4, 5, can you just talk about, BA, when you have that? Because you played with the Thomes and the Konerkos and the Franks for a little bit. When you know that that's a set and forget, 90-plus home runs, how does that balance the rest of your lineup when you had a Scotty Pods? And I look at Pods like an Antonacci, right? Like they remind me of the same guy. Chase Mydroth, Tadahito Iguchi-ish, right? So when you have those guys in your lineup, how does that balance out the rest of it when you know you're pretty much set and forget 90 home runs in the middle?
Well, let's just take a step back here. Like let's look at like that lineup we had in 05-06 and give something for the White Sox fans to be excited about, right? You have like Gucci with 15 to 18 homers. Yeah. Then you start getting Konerko with 30, Jermaine with 30, Joe Creedy with 25, right? Jim Thome with 40. So you're looking at some of these lineups and you're going, man, this is eerily similar to the heart of that, the meat of that lineup. I mean, if you get Murakami, I don't want to project here because I was grotesquely off last time, but let's just say Murakami would be an amazing year at 40 homers.
I think it's fair to say 40.
Yeah. But he hits 40. Miguel Vargas hits 25, and Colson hits 30. I mean, that is a sweet lineup.
That's 95 home runs, dude. I mean, so going back to 05, and I'm not comparing 2005 to 2026. I mean, that team 99 wins, 16-4 out of the gate. Different type of team. But when you look at the power, Paulie had 40 and 100. So let's just assume that's Murakami. Carl Everett had 23. All right. So the dinosaurs are not real. Jermaine had 31. So let's call Jermaine 31. That's Colson. And let's say Carl Everett's 23 is Miguel Vargas. All of a sudden, you look at the rest of the lineup. 18 from AJ, 15 from Tadahito, 16 from Uribe, 13 from
Creedy's got 20-something right there. I mean,
but so when you talk about those type of guys, you look at Mydroth now, you're thinking 8 to 10 homers, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at the guys in the outfield. I don't know if Braden Montgomery comes up. Kyle Teal, hopefully he gets here this year. You're going to get some more guys hitting home runs, and you're getting good play from your bench. Like the Gritchicks has been a good signing. I think Derek Hill is a good off-the-bench type guy. You're getting
I'll
David.
tell you what, real quick,
Scanlon, like the rotation. Go ahead.
You sold, man. It's been it pains me. It's heartbreaking to see how quick you sold Kyle Teal for Antonacci, man. You're like Kyle. Sorry, man. Listen. You're in jail. You're in rehab. You're in
jail.
You're in the injured list jail. I gotta move on from you, buddy. But those are pretty sweet. I know those are two type of players you really like. So
well, you do. So let's get to Antonacci. I was at the White Sox clubhouse on Wednesday, and I caught up with a couple of players, including Antonacci. We'll talk about him in a minute. But one of the guys I talked to was Sean Burke, and you and I believe you've comped him to John Garland several times here on the podcast. I was watching him pitch the other night, thinking, man, his mannerisms are very Garland-esque, and it took John a couple of years to figure things out. To turn a guy who was a 4 1/3 pitcher into a 6 1/3 or 7 inning pitcher, and most of it was control, and that's why Burke does remind me of that guy. We saw what Sean Burke can be. Like that Joe Ryan game the other night. Like man, it reminded me of a playoff game. It was weird. Like those type of pitching performances, Ryan versus Burke, holding each other down, get into the late innings, and letting Murakami tie the game up. It reminded me of that. I had a chance to catch up with Sean Burke in the clubhouse. And I asked him about having a big start because he had not given the team a lot of length his prior 2 or 3 starts. Talked about that exact, like having that big bounce back start and what he's seen from this clubhouse, from Murakami, and why this is sustainable. Let's hear from him.
I mean, I think I didn't really change too much. I think some of the games that, past 2 starts or so, they're just kind of some hits that, a couple pitches here and there I could have executed a little bit better. So, for me, it was more just having the focus throughout the game of making sure I'm able to execute as many pitches as I can, and just super diligent on what our game plan was. And I feel like throughout the game we made a couple of adjustments that were good. So I don't think it was anything too much different. More just a few little tweaks just to execute some stuff better.
Sure. When you look at this team, I mean, you've been part of this club now for the past 2 seasons. It's back in 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest difference as you guys sit here right now, post Memorial Day, and maybe the last 2 years?
I think just the competitiveness the group has, and I think obviously in 2024, like terrible season. Then last year there was like some bits of growth towards the end of the year, and I think that as more and more of us got up here and got comfortable here, it became the focus kind of shifted from like, all right, I'm in the big leagues, I'm trying to do well or like earn my keep here, to all right, we're all here now, we're all been playing together for a little bit, like let's win games here, like let's not just try to get up here and stay here. It's like let's become a team and win games and grind games out. And I think like last night, even though we didn't win, like just the fight we have towards the end of the game, and I think like everybody's just stepping up, and see different guys every night making plays, whether it's at the plate or coming in the pitch, or like Riku comes up and throws out 2 guys. So I think just the buy-in from the team, and the expectation to win is there, and so everybody's just kind of working towards that greater good.
To have the bulk of the 26-man clubhouse all be doing that together, does that, whether you're having success individually or as a team, you guys can feed off of that? And if you're not having success at that particular time, but the team is, it kind of helps you get through that at the same time?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that just you watch as a pitcher, especially like pitching once every 5 games, it's like, you see the team playing well, you see guys fighting every single day. So when it's my turn to pitch, like I want to be able to go out there and do the same thing. And obviously you have a bigger impact on the one game you do play, but I'm only out there once a rotation. So it's like that one time I get my chance, I don't want to let these guys down. I want to go out there and perform well for them.
You guys as a rotation, I know you guys have your own internal competitions trying to feed off each other, whether it's Davis or Anthony or whoever it might be, but what's that been like for you, knowing that you've seen success, whether it's like individual from like one start like you had last night, Davis from a season, Anthony starting to put things together? What's that been like for you guys as a staff?
It's been cool. I mean, I think that we like to bounce a lot of stuff off each other, and take bits and pieces of what each other do well and try to add it to our game. I know that like me and Davis, Kay's a little bit different just being a lefty, but like me and Davis have talked a lot since really 2024, and even before that when we knew each other in the minors, of just like how we're pitching, what we see that's working, and like me and him will, we kind of pitch back to back. I mean, Sandlin's in here now, but we're pitching usually against the same team, so it's like we'd like to bounce kind of some scouting report stuff and some ideas of how we think we can get certain guys out and different avenues we can go to, different sequences we can use against hitters. So I think now that all of us have just more experience, it's like it's easier for us to learn that and game plan that before the games too.
Last couple for you, like when you look at just the power, not just from Mooney, but like what has Mooney done for the rest of the lineup to lengthen the lineup? We know the power he's had. He's the talk of baseball. And for you guys to have that type of attention, for a young team, that could be too much, but for you guys have seemed to embrace it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just enjoying it. I don't think anybody looks at, it's funny that, like, I talk to my friends from home or, like, people outside here, and they're, like, look at Mooney like he's, this, like, crazy figure, like, famous dude. And, like, nobody in here really looks at him like that. I mean, we all know he's a good player, but he's just kind of one of the boys, one of the guys. And I think that's what was fun about this team. It's like, obviously we have tremendous talent. Like, Colston, Vargas have also had really good years. And it's like, nothing's really changed for us. Like, we feel like we're all just kind of a group of guys, like, doing our thing, playing. And, we have Mooney putting good at-bats together. Those two guys putting good at-bats together. I think, like, even you see the end of the lineup guys that are kind of feeding off that and, like, all right, if we can grind some at-bats out, get on base, do our thing, and then, we get those guys up on base with runners on base more often than not. Good things are going to happen.
Yeah, whether it's even if it's late in the game, you haven't done anything like last night, 2-0, all of a sudden you have a shot to win. And last one, just kind of big picture, how do you guys not let yourselves get too far ahead as a young club, knowing that you're where you want to be right now, you're right in the thick of a division race, a pennant race, and there's 100+ games to go. The crowd's been certainly following you guys from, each homestand is going to be more and more people here. So how do you guys not let yourselves get too far ahead, knowing it's a long ride?
It's just think about taking one game at a time. I think that, it is a younger clubhouse, and I think we've all been kind of reiterating to each other, like, we gotta, take this thing one game at a time. It's a long season. Like, that's why I feel like this year we haven't been as bothered by some stretches where, we lose 2-3 in a row. It's like, we could win 5 in a row like we have in the past, and, we're right back where we were. It's just about kind of not getting too high, too low, and just maintaining that every single day, being the same person, same team, showing up, trying to be consistent.
All right, BA, really good stuff right there from Sean Burke, not just on himself, but really perspective on the whole team. You heard him laugh when he was talking about his friends texting him all the time about Murakami, but he's a really good example. You heard me ask him about being on this team back when they won 41 games, and now what's the biggest difference now? And I think part of it is, like, they are all young and trying to win together, and they don't know any better, and they have a manager that's really honing in on, let's just win today and not look at the standings or think about what this thing means in August and September.
Well, I really like when you kind of pressed him in a respectful way, but you pressed him on, like, hey, I know we could tell that you aren't giving the White Sox as much length and depth, as, getting deep in those games as you can. And just like John Garland, man, John Garland figured out right in like 2004 or 5, like, hey, I don't have to throw 5 pitches to every hitter if I don't have to. If I can get a ground ball the first 2 pitches or a weak fly ball, that's huge. It allows you to extend into that 7th and 8th inning. And nowadays, my gosh, if you get a guy that gives you 6 innings like Sandlin did, right? Like, you're like, man, that's a great outing. I mean, the times have changed. I get it. Their workload management, but I know that our guys were always trying to give us 7. If you could give us 7 innings, like, that's huge, because then you go Matt Thornton is the setup guy, or Dustin Hermanson in 05, or Bobby Jenks, man. Like, just get us to the 8th inning or to the 7th inning, and it's over. Yeah,
and I think, Garland, another Garland comp here, he always had that big inning, right? Like, he would cruise for 4, and I'm talking about pre-All-Star John Garland. He would cruise for 4, and then all of a sudden the 5th would swallow him up. And I look at the start on Tuesday night from Sean Burke. Burke it felt like that big inning was going to happen. It was a leadoff triple. Nishida didn't play it that well off the wall. For Cody Clemens, he scores. They get another runner in scoring position. It's like, okay, like, this feels like a 2-run inning, but can he stop the bleeding? And he did. And then he settled back in and got in a groove again for a couple of innings and went 7 innings with 9 strikeouts, only allowing those 3 hits. That, to me, is the maturation process, because I do think Sean Burke is a key cog in this success being sustainable all year. You mentioned Sandlin. He did something that no other White Sox, 61 pitches in 6 innings. That guy looked like he belonged on you want to talk about presence. Gives up a home run in the second pitch of the game to Byron Buxton and then retires 18 straight. It's like never happened. So, do you know how hard that is, Guff? Like, do you know how quickly the wheels can come off? You're going, I mean, because that guy was quality start shoving in Charlotte, right? You come up, you're welcome to the big leagues moment, right? Or welcome to the big leagues with the White Sox. And Byron Buxton takes you deep right there as a guy who converted to pitching too. I mean, you go, okay, I'm not going to throw a shutout.
my ERA is at a 9. I mean, like all these things are going through your head. Like my team, I'm a fraud. I got imposter syndrome. To retire 18 straight after that's incredible.
Yeah, and you look at I retweeted there's a couple stats on Sandlin. How about this one from OptaStats? Threw 61 pitches in 6 innings in his MLB debut tonight. That's the fewest pitches per inning by any pitcher in his major league debut, minimum 6 innings, since pitches were first tracked in 1988.
You're such a nerd.
I have that. Me being that type of nerd, though, I mean, think about that. Only pitchers in White Sox. How about this one? Only White Sox pitchers to ever pitch 6 innings in a debut and allow 1 or fewer hits. Roberto Hernandez, who ended up being a dominant closer in 1991, and David Sandlin. Yeah. So this team is going to rely on the Sandlins, the Sean Burks. I think Sean Burks more important than Sandlin. If Sandlin comes up and is a dude, we already know Davis Martin. I loved hearing Burke talk about the internal competition. That's been forever and always in baseball, pitchers feeding off each other. But him and Davis, you heard me ask about whether you have a good outing, a good start to a season, or a good stretch like Anthony Kay is. These guys are always tweaking and figuring it out. And those three, like Anthony Kay hasn't been talked about a lot by us. His May, he could turn into a nice little thing. They're going to need more David Sandlin types, but the White Sox have proven thus far, we're about to hear from Brian Hudson, the White Sox have proven thus far that they have other guys, that the depth down below is there, and we know there's more pitching depth, and it might be guys you haven't heard of before. They're not all going to come up and be David Sandlin in their debut. But do you know, BA, the White Sox have 10 players already, 10 players on May 28th, as we record this, have made their major league debut for the White Sox this year, and they're in the wild card firmly entrenched right now at the end of May.
Yeah, we knew where they were going to go to the well. Like they needed help from the minor leagues, especially with Shane Smith going down, having to go down and work on some things. So if you want to make a playoff run, man, your 1, 2, and 3 arms have got to be good. They got to be consistent. They got to give you length. I know there's been some guys that have done some openers and the White Sox have pieced some things together, but as far as Kay, Sandlin, Davis Martin, Sean Burke, you gotta give your bullpen a chance to breathe, at least until the All-Star break. And then, you can start piecing it together towards the end of the year, that all of a sudden the Aleve and the Tylenol little tiny packets are running out come September.
Well, you mentioned a couple of things, and you mentioned the bullpen. The White Sox bullpen is starting to kind of fall into form the way you would want it to. You know that you have 2 closers, right? Sir Anthony Dominguez and Grant Taylor, depending on when you want to use them, matchups, etc. You know that those 2 guys are kind of at the back end. Brian Hudson's also a guy that has now found himself in the back end of the bullpen, and I had a chance to talk to him because you look at his season right now, 2-1 with a 1.37 ERA. This guy you mentioned the opener. He's been an opener. Yeah. He was an opener in San Francisco last week for Eric Fetty. He's been at the back. We've seen him at the back end. He does have a save and high leverage. And it's a guy, this is about the time, we talk about Memorial Day all the time, but this is about the time a bullpen starts to figure out who they are. And we had a lot of questions. I, and Jonathan Hood had a lot of questions about the White Sox bullpen. I'm starting to have a lot more answers right now. And I had a conversation with Brian Hudson asking him the same type of stuff. You've done different things from opener to back end, but as a unit, do you guys feel like you're really hitting your stride now, knowing like who's going to be in when you look at the scoreboard?
Some games not. I think we go into every series and every game with a different game plan on how to win that night. And some days it's been me opening, some days it's been coming in leverage, and other games it's been I've been 5th and 6th kind of middle guy. So I think it just kind of depends on the game plan that day and how the lineup looks with their hitters and with what guys we have hot.
Speaking of hot, just your season thus far. I mean, we're at the Memorial Day threshold now. Everyone talks about. Do you feel like you know a little bit more about who you are right now as a pitcher, and when you get the call, you're just in a rhythm right now to go out and do the job you're supposed to do?
Yeah, I think it's getting to that point in the season where we all have our routines and that kind of stuff, and kind of get those feelings, like those butterfly feelings, whenever there's a chance we go in the game. So yeah.
You've seen the crowds get louder and louder and bigger here at the ballpark, and with you guys being in the mix here, that seems pretty sustainable from both a fan aspect, and you guys are feeding off of that. I think the fans are feeding off of the energy you provided and vice versa. What's that been like for you guys as a young team, seeing the fans back you like that?
Oh, it's been awesome. I mean, we're trying to bring the energy every day, and I think when the fans are doing the same, it just gives us more of a fire to keep fighting. And yeah, with us being such a young team, I think we all kind of feed off of all that, the energy in the stadium and momentum. So I think it's good for all of us.
Will's very much of like, let's just win tonight, not worry about tomorrow. You guys are in the middle of like a 10-game stretch here against the division, and division games do matter. I mean, you look at the last 2 years, you go back to the record, and it hasn't been very successful. I think it's like 50 games under against the division. But how important is a 10-game stretch like this when you're playing your own division?
Yeah, I mean, these longer stretches are always tough, but very important. And we got to go out there ready to win every single game. And it doesn't matter really how we do that or, what's going on in the background. We just got to win. So that's all of our focus.
Speaking of energy, you've gotten 2 Japanese guys where you've really fed off them. Just Mooney, for just having him on your side and seeing what he's been able to do. You look at last night, the game Ryan was pitching.
Yep.
And for him to get that opportunity to tie the game and see the bench come alive. But what's he meant to this team?
Oh man, he's been a huge addition. Obviously the home runs, but not just that, just the energy and just everything else he brings to the table. The hard hustle plays, he's hustling out ground balls, and I think that's just all of us are feeding off of all these guys just doing the little things right, and I think it's paying off.
You look at Riku last night making that. I mean, if you had a picture taken when your reaction when the ball was thrown to home plate last night to throw out Clemens, just he's been here for a couple of days, but you see those 2 type of throws. It's very rare to have that type of success and putouts that he's had. Even the opportunity, just his little spark plug mentality that you guys have fed off, it just kind of goes with this team, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. He fits right in. I mean, those 2 throws that he's made have been unbelievable. I mean, right on the money. So you love to see that kind of stuff, especially in a debut. And the following day, I think it's awesome. And he's a great player.
Last one for you. Just how do you guys not let the schedule or the amount of games get ahead of yourself, knowing that the first 2 months of you guys are right where you want to be right now, but you don't want to get too far ahead thinking about July or the dog days when you have a pretty important June coming up.
Yeah, no, I think we all just it just comes back to the clubhouse. We all rely on each other, and we all are trusting each other and out there playing for each other. Whenever we're not necessarily feeling the best, we pick each other up, and we just continuously preach confidence and trust in our stuff. So I think it's that's how we get through it.
All right, but again, really good stuff. I mean, you hear a guy that right now talking about not letting the standings or the pressure swallow them up or get too far ahead of him. He really is focused on his next outing. He doesn't really, they know they are right where they want to be. They know the fans are paying attention because they're feeding off the energy and more people are showing up to the ballpark. There were 30,000 plus again on Memorial Day for a 1:00 game. They kind of have, you're a guy who's been in really good clubhouses and really shitty ones. It just seems to me, and fans got sick of hearing about how great the clubhouse was when they lost 121 games.
Yeah, no one cares.
Good teams rarely win. And I'm talking long-term when the clubhouse is a bunch of misfits or not a bunch of misfits, but a bunch of meatheads who don't like each other. These guys like each other, whether starting pitchers, bullpen, lineup, or whatever. I thought Hudson had some good things to say there too.
Well, not to mention too, he talked about, defining roles and being able to step up for your team in any situation. I mean, look at the guy. He's been an opener. He's closed some games. He's been middle. I think he talked about, I forget what the term they use now, but as far as games that he just needs to get some length. But I'll tell you, man, he's so crucial for the White Sox. He might even be more important than whoever they decide with to close with, because I think about he's my mix. He might count for him as Matt Thornton with a little bit of the Garrett Crochet or Javi Lopez flavor.
Wow.
Right? He's got high velo with funk. And no offense to Matt Thornton, love that dude. I've never seen a guy say, I'm going to throw a 97-mile-an-hour fastball middle, and you won't hit it. And I think Gabe Gross or some dude took him deep one time, and everyone's like, wait, what? He was incredible. So I look at that guy and go, I would not want to face him even as a right-handed hitter. I'd rather face, Grant Taylor than Brian Hudson, just because of the funkiness, nothing straight. He'll front door sinkers or he'll throw a four-seamer down and away, and you just don't know what the ball's going to do. So the White Sox are in really good shape with the back end of the bullpen, something they did not have. I know you harped on it quite a bit in 24 and 25. They just had nothing to go to consistently in the bullpen.
Yeah, they were losing games 7th, 8th, and 9th all the time, and Hudson's it's a weird there's always so much about lefty, righty. He's just a guy right now. Like this guy gets right-handed righties have a 499 OPS off of Brian Hudson. Righties.
That's a Brian Anderson OPS.
Man, you're so harsh on yourself, man.
I'm a self-deprecator.
You are. You always have been. So good interviews there. Now, I did say I mentioned I had a conversation with Sam Antonacci. Sometimes when you're one-man banding it, the camera stops recording and you have an entire conversation that we don't see the light of the day. And then Antonacci goes out and has 3 hits with 3 RBIs. But I asked him specifically about the type of player he is. He's definitely a guy right now. Like, I talked to him at Sox Fest, by the way. He was walking around the media social. Dude, no one was talking to him. They didn't know who Sam Antonacci was. Like, oh, the AA kid. Oh, that's cool. Like, very few of us talked to him. Okay. Then all of a sudden he goes to the WBC and rakes for Team Italy, and he comes up with the White Sox and he's raking. And like, it went so fast, so quickly. And now he's a Southside staple. Like, he's a Southside grinder type of player. You mentioned a Ryan McGuffey type of player. I asked him specifically, when you know you have big boppers and like how important it is to have Murakami and Colson and Vargas in your lineup, when you know that you have those guys, how important is a guy like Chase and himself to the lineup? And his exact quote was, I'm biased, but I think if you want to win baseball games, you need guys like me and Chase. And we've been saying that since Chase came up last year. But Antonacci is like the left-handed version. Like, he's getting on base at a high rate because leads the majors in hit by pitches. He's the perfect type of player to balance this whole thing out. And I like that Will kind of swaps him and Chase at the top sometimes. Like you saw Wednesday night, Chase went back to the leadoff spot and Antonacci dropped down to 8. And now Antonacci could go back up. And I think what you have there, and this goes back to the question I asked you earlier, just how having those 3 mainstays in the middle of your lineup really allow you to have flexibility and allow guys like Antonacci and Chase keep the lineup moving to get to the big guys.
Yeah, I think before all the metrics came out, definitely they would be 1-2 no matter what. But because of the number of plate appearances, Murakami will get batting in the 2-hole over the course of 162 games. It's 50 plus minimum more at bats. It's some crazy stat. But I just think about the teams that I played on that were really good, and you look at, like, that's a Pasednik, and a Tadahito Oguchi light right there. Antonacci probably won't steal as many bags as Pods, but he's got the spark. And then Chase Mydroth is, if he hits 12 home runs, he is a Gucci. So we got a really exciting lineup this year. If they can find a way to consistently just keep piecing it together 7 through 9, I think the White Sox are onto something.
Yeah, I talked to him. I kind of joked with him because off camera he was talking about like putting extra work in as a left fielder and going like, dude, I'm figuring it out. And I said, you're a guy though that didn't play left field prior to March, and here you are playing March. You're playing left field starting every day in the big leagues. And he's like, yeah, no one's going to confuse me with being a great left fielder yet. And I love that answer. Great. And don't you love that answer? Great. Like, he's like, but if I can be good enough and then good and then maybe really good, that's what I'm trying to be. And I was like, man, like, that's the type of player. And you got to give the White Sox front office some credit here in some of these finds. Making Antonacci a left fielder to make sure you get him up and be a part of it. David Sandlin. Basically, they flipped Austin Slater for David Sandlin. Okay. Tristan Peters played for the Savannah Bananas and belongs here in the big leagues. Okay. The bullpen, the bullpen arm that I'm blanking on right now that they got out of the Pioneer League in 2024, Nate Davis. So like, they are finding guys that other teams haven't. And that includes Murakami, and everybody in baseball knows that they messed that up. And it just feels different that the type of guys that are contributing to this team are reasons it's sustainable. So as we wrap this one up, BA, I want you to give me, because we're talking about why this is a sustainable throughout the summer. They're about to go through a murderer's row here in June, and it doesn't even bother me. I want to see the White Sox against the Yankees and Dodgers. You got to play them anyway, so let's see what it looks like. Give me 3 reasons why you believe this success early on is sustainable throughout the summer.
They finally have pitching depth that's consistent. The clubhouse, they're having fun. And I think that the chemistry is off the charts. And I think that's two separate things. It's one thing to have a clubhouse where you can lean on each other, but when you have chemistry on the field, I mean, you have bench guys and guys that are hurt traveling with the team that are making themselves, their presence felt. It's very easy to go get hurt, disappear, hang back, and not go with the team. It's like, hey man, the White Sox are making investments in players and saying, hey, we'll wear the extra couple grand to fly them out or put them up or whatever it costs. Like, it's worth it because whatever they're doing right now, you got to ride the momentum, man. And they have an insane amount of momentum going on.
Yeah, you're buying right into the team slogan there. I'm going to say this. Number one, they have power, and the offense is legit. The only two teams in baseball that have more home runs than the Chicago White Sox are the Yankees and Dodgers. That's insane.
That's crazy.
No one saw that coming, but thank you for Munetaka Murakami and balancing the rest of the lineup. It is crazy that the New York Yankees and LA Dodgers are the only two teams that have more home runs than the White Sox. The White Sox are sixth in OPS, BA. Sixth in OPS. And then here's another one that they haven't been a top 10. They're top 10 in on-base percentage. Their lineup's real, man. Like, give him credit for flopping, switching out. Showman's been phenomenal as a hitting coach. You can't give him all the credit because the players are going out there and doing it. The development team for the White Sox gets a hell of a lot of credit for this. So number one for me is that this team can score runs. If they get shut out today, they can score 15 tomorrow. They really have the ability to put one foot in front of the other. Number two, I'm going to say Will Venable. And a lot of people are like, well, he lost the game the other night because Nishida bunted on. I was told Nishida had the green light to bunt if he wanted to. So,
hey, real quick on that though, Guff, I'm sorry. It is never a manager's fault when, and again, I'm not blaming the player like wearing him out, but it's like, hey, this is the big leagues. If the manager asks you to do something, you need to execute it. Like, that's why we have signs. Like, yeah, it's if you don't get the job done, that's on the player. It's not like again, that's like the people that hang the signs like, sell the team, Jerry. You're like, is it Jerry Reinsdorf's fault that Andrew Benintendi got hurt or was hitting 230? I do not believe so.
I want to explain my Will Venable because I think he's done a really good job of putting his players in position to succeed. And that's really the main job of a manager. And I think his support staff has been strong for Will. The challenges that they've had, the challenge the other day about the slide rule where they got a double play out of it against the Twins, there's been very smart challenges. It just seems like it's a different coaching staff. They actually seem plugged in top down. So I think because his message to the clubhouse is win today, we'll talk about tomorrow. These guys are too young and dumb to know any better. So they just go out and try to, hey, the hell with it. Let's go out. We have a game today. Let's go out and play. So that's where I'm going to give Will Venable. And then 3, I think that they have experimental pitching depth. That's how I'm going to say it. Like Sandlin had 75 pitches. They stretched him out to 75 pitches. Shane Smith has a rotator thing right now. Maybe he's available for you in the second half down the stretch. Can Davis Martin continue at this torrid pace? I don't know, but I think he's good enough to be like a 3 ERA guy with 15 wins. And then I really do think the front office, you heard Ken Rosenthal say this the other day. I don't think that they spend big at the deadline, but I think they spend wisely. Well, they're not going to cough up in their big prospects in order to get better, but I do think you can see them add a fringe bullpen piece or two. So I just, there's a lot to like about that room and how they're looking at each other. And I just think BA, I've seen enough from the back end of the bullpen to believe they can get by with enough starting pitching. Like if they can get 3, if you can have Davis Martin, Kay, and Sean Burke carry the load, anything you're getting from 4-5 and beyond to me just is gravy.
I agree, man. Well said.
All right. So we thank Sean Burke. We thank Brian Hudson for joining us on this edition of the podcast. And we thank Sam Antonacci for his thoughts as well. Always enjoy catching up with the guys at the clubhouse and at Rate Field. BA, appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you back here in the studio. The White Sox success, folks. We believe it's sustainable. BA said it all. I give him credit. He had 80 wins from the start. 80 wins would be pretty damn remarkable, regardless of how bad the American League is. For Brian Anderson, I'm Guff, Ryan McGuffey. If you don't already subscribe to the recap, what are you doing? 250 1,000 plus of you already do. Make sure you click that notification bell so every time these two knuckleheads drop a fresh podcast, you get the alert and it's there for you. If you watch here on YouTube or you listen on audio form, we appreciate you always. Go White Sox. We'll see you on the next edition of the White Sox Recap Podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For BA, I'm Guff. See you next time.